Hundreds of people, a quiet night in Phoenix, and a formation of glowing lights stretching across the sky, witnessed by pilots, police, even the governor. This is the Phoenix Lights incident, and today we're unpacking the mystery with our guest, Don Sill, from the Donversations podcast. Welcome to another episode of Mostly True Alien Stories.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects.
Scientists in Mexico pulling back the curtain. We need to save ourselves.
Welcome back to Mostly True Alien Stories. This is the podcast that we dive into the wildest alien encounters, all real, some ridiculous, and together we're going to try to figure out which ones are mostly true. I'm Neal Girandola, joined as always by my co-host, Andrew Triana. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, Neal?
And if you're new here, every episode we explore a documented alien story. We're going to dig into the facts and decide if it actually holds up or not. And if you're not subscribed yet, just hit that button so you don't miss any of the stories they probably don't want you to hear. Our guest today is someone who knows his way around a good story and isn't afraid to interrogate the weird ones. You may know him as the host of the hit podcast Donversations with Don Sill, where just a few weeks ago he grilled me on alien culture, government cover-ups, and which stories might actually be mostly true. Don is what I call the media Swiss Army knife. He's a producer, he's a director, he's a writer, he's a host with a knack for finding the heart of any conversation. Whether he's on mic or behind the scenes, he brings curiosity, craft, and just the right amount of skepticism to every story he tells. Today, we're flipping the script, though, and we're going to drop him into one of our alien rabbit holes. Will Don buy what we're selling today, or will he call BS from orbit? Let's find out from the guy who doesn't believe we went to the moon. Please welcome my friend, Don Sill. Hey, Don.
What's up, guys? How you doing? What's up?
Wow. I am so excited
doing?
to have you on, Don. Where are you talking to us from?
I'm here in beautiful Long Island. I'm out east on Long Island in Suffolk County.
I gotta kick it off. We always ask our guests when they get on here. We want to know: do you believe in extraterrestrial life on other planets?
I do. I always did. I just can't fathom the idea that we're the only life in the whole galaxy. When you look to the stars and you say to yourself, could we really be the only ones? Are we the best that the universe has? And that's why I love your podcast, because it is hard to kind of navigate what are real stories, what are made up stories, what are just crazy stories. That's what makes it for non-believers to kind of rein it in, is that there's so many hoaxes that you can't, like hoaxes like, we went to Mars, we went to the moon and stuff like that.
You know what? We got to talk about that, Don. I want to. All right.
What? If Elon gets to the moon, I'll believe it.
Wow. Let's talk about this. I
really got to know more. Yeah.
So listeners and Andrew, when I was on Donversations with Don, it was revealed to me that he does not believe we went to the moon, and we talked about it a little bit. Because there was so much we were talking about on this, such a great podcast. I can't wait to talk about that. But the whole moon thing, I really want to know why you think that was faked.
Well, there's a few reasons. And I think there is like a percentage chance that we did actually go there. But the reason I doubt it is just because I look at the time period and what we were going through, the space race. And Russia was kind of kicking our butts in that. And they were, the first ones to get into the rocket and make it into space. They're the first ones to orbit the Earth, I think, and all of those types of things. And I think we needed a win. So I think that's the motive to do it. And then when you look at the footage and some of the things just look so unrealistic and
looks so Stanley Kubrick.
There's rumors that Stanley Kubrick and the hints that are in The Shining and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you saw all that stuff, but I mean, we can go down a long rabbit hole on this, but I just think that some of the evidence, I know there's been other ones that kind of debunk it and they say that they did.
I never asked Andrew, because Andrew's a non-believer of all of this stuff, so he's one of those guys that just said, I almost think he thinks the Earth is flat. He's one of the flat earthers. But did you, Andrew? Did you think that we went to the moon?
Yeah, I think we went to the moon. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a film called Capricorn 1.
No,
I have not.
Okay, so go find that film, Capricorn 1,
right now.
Right now, stop the podcast immediately and watch this film. It stars James Brolin as an astronaut. and they faked going to Mars.
Fake going to Mars.
They faked
For
going to
what
Mars
purpose? What was the purpose?
to tell people that we went to Mars, and they built this whole set, and the astronauts didn't know. So like the astronauts went unconscious because they were traveling so far, and when they came to, they had already landed by computer on Mars. They get out, and then I think, if my memory serves me correctly, a set light falls onto the planet, and everybody freaking freaks out, right? The astronauts, of course, are going to be interviewed for going to Mars. They have to kill them because they can't afford to get them to, they can't risk them getting out and saying it's all fake.
I'm surprised I didn't see that. Well, that's a good one. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's great. And there's like a scene where he eats a rattlesnake because he escapes, because they're in the desert somewhere, and he gets a rattlesnake and he eats it. It's really a cool film. It's a cool concept. And so, yeah, when you see that, you're like, did we go to the moon? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to believe that they went. So I'm going to say they did go to the moon.
All right. Well, the big question actually is, I mean, let's talk about current times. Do you think that Katy Perry, Gayle King, and the rest of the multimillionaire ladies of diversity actually went into space on Blue Origin? Because that now they're saying that could even have been faked based on the footage. Don, what do you think?
The most questionable part of that, besides their suits, their space suits, which I kind of enjoyed, actually. That was my favorite part.
I mean, good for them. That was smart, right?
Yeah, they look great. But
I have their posters now on my wall.
Yeah, it would have been a better movie, like an action movie with all of them dressed like that. But it's the door. Did you see the footage of the door when it opens up, and then what's his face goes in there to open it with a wrench? It doesn't even really. I don't even know if he ever actually turned anything.
Don't know. It was almost like a toy door too, with the way they opened it. And actually, I loved how he fell right before, like he's hurrying over to the door or whatever he was doing. He trips and falls. Like it's Jeff Bezos, billionaire.
Did no one? I mean, was there no comments on how 5 women flew inside of a giant penis into space for 6 minutes? I mean, the fact that they called it Blue Origins and there's a pill called Blue Chews, right, for men. It's like, what's the message? And first of all, who gives a shit about any of those 5 people that went in the freaking rocket? I don't get it. I don't care.
We could jump on the mean wagon here on this, and it's true. It was almost got a little cringy for the whole thing.
Did they have to pay?
Well, we don't know that. So, I mean, they were friends with Bezos' girl, so I'm sure it was like her treat.
Exactly.
And she wasn't she the pilot? I think she was the pilot too, right?
I don't know that there was
one
a
of them
pilot.
actually pilot. They said that they were as the pilot. I was like, what?
Oh, really? I thought they just all sat in there and just
flew over space.
Did you see the footage when they were up there floating around? I've never seen astronauts do like with the flower and hey, look at me, and holding up things. Look,
I think it just would have been a really nice moment had it not been
fake,
like you just said, the whole floating in the screen. Well, exactly. I just think that they tried to make it something that force it to be something, and they shouldn't have. It shouldn't have even should have even tried to avoid the press on this and just do this launch and then talk about it afterwards, because that's what made it. I think they forced it on us. We see they're millionaire ladies with the just getting in this rocket ship, and there's not piloting. I mean, did you hear Katy Perry even talk about STEM? I mean, she was trying to talk about STEM. I don't think she even knows what STEM stands for. It was one of those moments. So.
And to do this in when the people just got rescued a few weeks ago, they've been up there for 8 months.
And they didn't really do anything about them. It's like, they were up there 8 months. Hey guys, how you feel? I feel okay. I feel happy to be back. Thank you. Next story, please.
Exactly.
Blue Origins.
Exactly. And then Blue Origins gets all the headlines. And they were up there for literally like 11 minutes. So it's just crazy to me that could overshadow these 2 astronauts that were literally stranded in space for 8 months. And then when they came back, little fanfare because it was Elon and all that kind of stuff. That's what I believe.
And they had the audacity to call themselves astronauts. I mean, I guess if you cross the line into space and come back, you're an astronaut. I mean, but there should have been a mention that we are nowhere near astronauts. We went for a ride on a rocket,
In a rocket.
and someone down low was controlling it. And that's it.
Yeah.
We're astronauts.
I agree.
I want to talk about your show because it is so your guest list is so eclectic. It's you go from, I mean, just recently you had JVC Force on to Judy Gold. You
Yes.
have Raymond the Amish comic. You have Mike Ruziana
Oh yeah.
from
Ruzioni.
and to your son even, who is a freaking stud of a musician, which is unbelievable. It's just such an interesting, eclectic group of guests on there. How did that all come about?
Well, it is like basically I do pull from my interests, people and people that I like and things that I'm interested in. So basically, I started the podcast in 2019. I moved back to New York, and I had some friends here. I was already kind of in the comedy scene out here before I moved into North Carolina and then over to Atlanta. That's where I met you along the way. You were also kind of in the sports world with us doing video work. And then I came back about 16 years later and kind of picked up right where I left off into the comedy scene. And now the world has changed a little bit. In the back of my home club, Governor's Comedy Club in Long Island, there was now a podcast studio. And the guy who ran the podcast studio is my cousin, Tony Walker. Shout out to my buddy, Tony Walker. So he told me, hey, do you want to do a podcast? So I said, sure. And I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing at the time. So I started a game show. So I did like this online game show called Put Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up, which was all themed around that. That's when I kind of started doing the interviews. And I've always, I come from a background of doing interviews in radio and stuff like that. So and then it just kind of evolved into, what I'm doing now. And I just like to have an eclectic guest list of things I'm interested in. And I love every guest that comes on. Everyone has something else to offer, something different. So like whether I'm talking to like old school hip hop rap artists, or if I'm talking to you and getting into space aliens and all this kind of stuff, it's just things that interest me. I interviewed a caving guy who this guy Wes Sims out in Alabama, who loves to go crawl into tight spaces and underground in caves.
I mean, that's crazy in itself to do those things. I've seen some videos of people get in there, and I don't understand why you want to do that.
No, and
That's
that's
crazy.
how what interested me with that was the claustrophobia, because I there's no way I'll ever do that.
Oh yeah,
And then to
well, you
talk to a
wouldn't
guy.
fit. You're what, 6? How tall? You're big. You're a big guy. You're over 6.
Yeah, 6 foot, but like these shoulders, I just would just have to, but like the guy West told me we could do it, but
well, I learned a rule of thumb is if you do this with your fingers, if you can fit your fingers through a crevice like that from here to here, you can fit your body.
Really?
That's the lesson I learned in Spelunking. Yeah. This is how they yeah, because you can contort your body.
No.
Your body it's actually supposed to be the width or size of your head or something, and then you can get through. But I've never tried it.
No, I think that only works with like cat's whiskers. I think that's the only thing that works with. I don't know. This whole
it might. Yeah. You're going to try it all day today. I know you are. Who are the guests that you had on that were like aliens?
Well, Tommy Chong, I would say.
Oh my God, I love Tommy Chong.
Tommy Chong, he's definitely, sort of an alien type guy. he's trippy. I
opened one night for Tommy Chong, and I was just sort of starting out, but I had an opportunity to open for him, and I was nervous. He was great. He was backstage waiting for his intro, but I was on doing some stand up, and I had somebody started heckling me because they just, the Tommy Chong crowd,
right?
They wanted nothing to do with me. And so it's going over here and you suck. Bring out Tommy. Get him out. It turned out it was my brother. He was in the freaking audience. He was heckling me. We had like 300 people.
Wow.
He was heckling me. I found out it was him. But anyway, Tommy just walks out while I was getting heckled, and he's standing behind me, and the crowd's going nuts. And I thought maybe I said something that was really cool and funny. And then, then we passed it off, and I found out it wasn't me. But anyway,
that's freaking
That's
awesome.
funny.
Yeah, when Tommy was on the show, it was the 50th anniversary of their first album. So I was,
Wow.
and I was 50 at the time. So this is about 3 years ago. So I said, this is how old your album looks now. This is, if your album could age, this is what it would look like. He said, oh man, didn't it? I thought I did it better than that. But we got to do, that's the album with Dave's Not Here.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So I
Yep.
got to reenact with him. We had the script, and we did
Oh,
Don's
cool.
Not Here. So I was like, hey man, open the door. I got the stuff, man. I got the stuff. Who? It's
What?
me, man. It's Don. He's like, Don's not here. So it was pretty epic for Tommy Chong
Wow.
to do that with him. I was Cheech for a little bit. Well, that was
I
pretty awesome.
love that. That is awesome. And what a great experience too. But you get to do that time and time again. I mean, how many episodes now are you in on Donversations?
200 interviews that I've done with all types of walks of life and all types of levels. Some legends like I said, Tommy Chong, Tom Dreesen, Jackie
Wow.
the Joke Man, a lot of comedians, a lot of local legends like Joey Cola. I don't know if you guys know Joey Cola in
Love
Jersey.
Joey. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just always interesting, and I just always enjoy talking to people.
On your show, it was a great interview. I loved everything you were throwing at me. And one thing that I took away from your show was the whole rapid fire, mostly true or not moment that we put in. I'm going to start
Yeah, it
adding
was
that
fun.
into our show. And I think it's only fair that I do this to you. This is the rapid fire section. Don did this to me on Donversations. You'll have to check out that episode. I'm gonna throw some claims at you right now, and you're gonna tell me if these are mostly true or not. Okay? Are you ready? Andrew, you can play too if you want, but let Don go first.
I'll
Here
let
we
Don go first.
Yeah. All right, Don. The U.S. government knows more about aliens than they let on.
Oh, definitely, mostly true. I think that was it Area 51. I think there's a lot of stuff there that we don't know, and you think about the stuff that they're letting us know now, and that they're
disclosure?
spotting, like the TikTok, UFOs and things like that.
Yeah.
So they're letting us know dribs and drabs of information, but then you wonder how much do they know? And when you look at some of our spacecrafts, and some of the technology that we have in the military these days, you wonder, is that, and even some of the metals and things that are so kind of,
the alien tech.
Yeah, I feel like we get an alien tech. So yes, I believe it's mostly true that the government knows way more than they're telling us.
Well, this might have run parallel to our story we're going to tell today. We'll see. All right, there's an ancient energy source buried beneath the pyramids in Giza.
I believe it's mostly true, but I don't think we'll ever really know because they're not going to let us dig there. They're not going to let us uncover it, right? So there's the people that take care of the pyramids over there. But I think with technology and what was it, kind of like radio waves or however they're finding that those underground was
that LiDAR, that radar, that's reading underground.
Yeah, and then it turns out that there's also big like rooms down there as well.
Civilizations, yeah.
So I don't know if they'll ever, or maybe they will someday, but I don't know if anytime soon they're going to really dig and uncover that because the archaeologists over there and the people that keep
it's a gatekeeper over there.
Yeah.
I think it's where the lizard people live.
Oh, you think the lizard people are down
Yeah,
there?
I think the lizard people are actually living underneath the pyramids in Giza. And they are the keepers of the nuclear plant or whatever power source is down there. That's why they don't come out. They have to constantly watch it because it could destroy the planet.
Interesting.
I do believe it's a power source though, because if you look at the stones, again, like I don't have all the information at hand, but when you look at it, and then and there's even burn marks inside of those
coils,
pyramids that show that some kind of energy was flying through there at some point. There is some stuff that's beyond our belief where it sounds ridiculous, but in today's day and age, anything is possible because look at all the ridiculousness that we've gone through just in the last few years.
All right, next. Most people who say they've been abducted are telling the truth.
I don't believe most people have been abducted.
I'm going to chime in and say they believe they've been abducted, but they have not.
But you're saying is different because you're saying that they just have an issue. They're just thinking that they got abducted. but it didn't happen.
Yes.
You're not saying that they made it up.
I think they believe that it happened to them. Yeah, I don't. There's so many different things that happen to people, especially they're always asleep, and there's always no point.
Always something in
It's
their
like
butt.
what? Well, no, not always in their butt, but they're like, I had this thing implanted in my hand, and it's been there since I was a child because I've been abducted since I was a child. And it's like, seriously? Well, where is it? They took it out. Well, why did they take it out?
Drescher. You're talking about Fran
invisible.
Drescher.
I'm talking about, but a lot of people have said that. I saw a video on TikTok with this guy that said that there was a woman that claims that she got abducted and that she had video cameras around her place to show that she was abducted and that they saw this shadow thing move over, and they've taken all her videos down off of TikTok. And I'm like, what? She said she had a thing in her hand, and then the guy talking about it says, yeah, I've got this mark on my hand too that I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you it's abducted. But I can tell you the guy's got like freaking 1 million followers, so somebody's believing his bullshit. I'm gonna start saying that I've got something implanted in my penis. I mean, come on, seriously, guys. Why would they take the videos down? Like, why would they do that?
Somewhere along the line, the narrative has changed that people think that they're going to be killed if they reveal the fact that there's aliens or that they were abducted. And that this whole thing, I don't believe that anybody's taking videos down. I think the people that are taking the videos down are the people that are making the videos to say that the videos are being taken down. You know what I mean? And to build the
you got to build the suspense,
the aura.
Yeah,
that's what I should do.
I got to believe it. I must believe it. So, yeah, no.
All right, Don, aliens walk among us, but we don't notice them. Mostly true or not?
Well, if you live in New York, you'll say that's mostly true.
Yes. Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure.
No, that's one that I struggle with sometimes. There's believing things, and then, for lack of a better word, then there's kind of like logic, right? So you're like, logically, you say to yourself, no, there can't be. This is sci-fi movie stuff where there's, people walking, aliens walking among us. But then when I start to think about, the world and different situations, I'm like, you know what? I think it's possible. Living among us might not mean that they're at the workplace and all this stuff, or the politicians, or it could mean that they have places in Antarctica or in the ocean or something along those lines, and we don't see them, but they're still on Earth living among us in that regard. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on that one. There's a part of me that says that it's possible, and then there's another part of that fights that, like, two sides of the brain fighting each other on this one. But I think. I guess because I think it's possible, I would have to say mostly true.
All right, last one. Elon Musk already made contact, and he's just not telling us mostly true or not.
I had never heard that yet before, but you know what? I wouldn't be shocked to find out that Elon's already kind of has a whole bunch of space friends. It wouldn't surprise me.
It'd be a great series. Elon and his space friends. Yeah.
I guess I would say. Maybe mostly not true on that one.
I see Elon more android than alien.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense too. Don, we really appreciate you being here. Guys, make sure you check out Donversations with Don Sill on YouTube. Go subscribe to his channel, and you can see all the amazing guests that he has had on through the years. Really great show. And lucky for us, he's going to stick around to weigh in on our featured story of today. And so if you're new to the show, here's how this part works. Every episode, we walk through one real reported alien encounter, just as it was documented. No hype, no spin. Then we break it down and decide whether we think it's mostly true or mostly just a well-crafted story by somebody. Andrew, Don, and I will then each give our take. And of course, we want to hear yours in the comments. All right, so let's get into it, guys. It's the Phoenix Lights incident. All right, March 13th, 1997 was a typical warm and dry Thursday night in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was one of those crystal clear desert evenings, perfect for stargazing. But by the time the sun went down, something massive was moving through the night sky, and people all across the state were watching. That night, between 7 o'clock and 10:30 p.m., a giant V-shaped craft as wide as several football fields was reported silently gliding over the city of Phoenix, stretching northward as far as Prescott and as far south as Tucson. And it wasn't a blink and you miss it encounter. This was an object was visible for up to 30 minutes in some locations, traveling slowly and without a sound. First reports that came in from Prescott, Arizona around 7 p.m. Several people claimed to have seen a V-shaped craft with 5 lights embedded in it, silently moving across the sky. Witnesses described it as low, massive, and eerily quiet. It blocked out stars as it passed. And some initially assumed it was a group of aircraft flying in formation until it moved like a single rigid object. And it continued southeast, following a path toward Phoenix, gaining more and more witnesses along the way. By 8:15 p.m., calls were flooding 911 and local newsrooms in Phoenix. People were stepping out of grocery stores, stopping on roadsides, and they were gathering in backyards, staring upward, stunned at what they were looking at. Thousands had seen it by now. And here's how they all described it. It was a boomerang or chevron-shaped craft, 5 lights along the wings, as we mentioned. It moved slowly and completely silent, and it was estimated to be between 1 and 2 miles wide. The altitude was possibly as low as a few thousand feet, though it was hard to tell because of its size. One witness actually said it was so big it covered the sky. I couldn't see the stars above it. Everything went quiet. Even the insects stopped chirping. You know it's big when those crickets stop. Some said they felt a vibration like a low-frequency hum, but couldn't hear anything. So among the thousands of people who saw the lights that night was Arizona Governor Fife Symington. This is a famous story about this. And at the time, he publicly mocked the sighting. He even holding a press conference where his aide dressed up in an alien costume and pretended to be the culprit behind the lights. Yeah, and it got laughs. Yeah, it got laughs, and effectively it just shut down the media pressure. I mean, that was very smart of them. But 10 years later, in 2007, Symington reversed his story. In an interview with CNN, he admitted, "I'm a pilot and a former Air Force officer, and I can definitely say this craft did not resemble any man-made object I had ever seen. It was enormous, and it was otherworldly." He claimed he stayed quiet at the time because he didn't want to cause a panic. Here are the theories. The U.S. Air Force eventually stated that the Phoenix lights were simply military flares dropped by an A-10 Warthog aircraft from Luke Air Force Base during a training exercise over the Barry M. Goldwater range.
That's my favorite one. I love it.
Yeah. They were supposedly dropped. The flares were supposedly dropped around 10 p.m. and they slowly descended and drifted behind the Estrella Mountains, visible to people in the Phoenix area. Now, this explanation only covers the second event, a series of stationary lights that were visible around 10 p.m. But it doesn't explain the massive V-shaped craft witnessed by thousands earlier that evening between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. That's where most of the mystery of this story still lies. UFO investigators, including Dr. Lynn Katai, who became the Phoenix Lights' most well-known researcher, argue that 2 separate events occurred that night. A massive silent low-flying V-shaped craft that moved slowly and covered miles, and then a series of military flares dropped later in the evening. Many believe the flare story was just used as cover, a convenient explanation that could deflect attention from the earlier, more mysterious sightings. And then local law enforcement, including the Phoenix Police Department, they received dozens of calls that night, but passed them off to the military. The FAA and NORAD initially denied having any aircraft in the area that could explain the sightings, but later the Air Force revised their statement to include the training flare drop, but that didn't line up with the witnesses who saw a structured object 2 freaking miles wide moving overhead hours earlier. What makes this so compelling is the volume of consistent eyewitness reports. It wasn't isolated incidences. They came from people of all ages and professions, including pilots, police officers, doctors, school teachers, military personnel, and even the governor himself. And many said that the craft was so close, so enormous, so quiet, they were certain it wasn't anything from Earth. We always get into this. Did anybody make money on this? Well, since it was such a mass sighting, books were written, including one by Dr. Lynn Katai called The Phoenix Lights. There was documentaries made like The Phoenix Lights, We Are Not Alone, And then there was TV coverage, including History Channel, National Geographic, and Unsolved Mysteries. So no real money-making.
No, there's no money
made-up
there. No
story.
one person came out on top.
Exactly. Despite multiple investigations, there is no conclusive explanation that has ever been provided for the earlier V-shaped craft sighting. And to this day, the Phoenix Lights is considered one of the most credible mass UFO sightings in history. So here we are, a massive silent low-flying craft seen by thousands. It was eyewitness accounts that match in detail and timing. An initial denial followed by a partial military explanation. A governor who admitted to seeing it but kept quiet. And there was no radar confirmation and no official investigation, at least not one that was made public. That is our story of the Phoenix Lights. I am now going to hand it over to you fellas to weigh in on whether you think this is a mostly true alien story or not. I can see Andrew's got some stuff he wants to fill in here. Let's let Andrew fill in what he thinks that I missed.
Okay,
Before we all weigh in.
So first of all, I commend you on your story, Neal. You reported everything that I was able to find, except for a couple witnesses that I actually watched interviews with. So what happens in this thing is that there are several people that saw different things, right? But for the majority, it was this huge ship that was unexplainable. I mean, it had, like you described, it had lights all along it. It was moving very slowly. I found it fascinating that the military comes out and says, oh yeah, we were doing these flare drops or whatever, but flares don't move like that. Flares hover and then they're just going to fade out, basically. You know, if you ever shot a flare into the sky, it sits there hovering and then it just kind of burns out. It'll start to descend before it burns out, but that's it. It didn't move like these lights moved, even the smaller portion of lights. That's what I found fascinating, that they tried to use that, you know, or they didn't even go with, it was a weather balloon. You know, those are my favorites. It's like, that's a big fucking balloon if it's a weather balloon. Holy shit. It was a ship. I mean, it was some sort of thing. Now, one of the theories that I heard that it was U.S. military and it was a ship that had a cloaking device on it. Cloaking device somehow malfunctioned. Which I find fascinating because you only hear cloaking devices in, like, you know, Star Trek, Star Wars, you know, just fantasies, you know, in Star Fantasy, you hear about cloaking devices. So I tried digging, but there wasn't a lot. I mean, everybody said the same thing. Everyone said it. There wasn't anybody that has come out later, except for the governor, that says, oh yeah, no, it was real. That was just a joke. I was just joking with the alien thing. But there's a theory that I have, and this is interesting. I'm going to share this with you guys. Do you think some of this shit appears in movies so that when it does happen, we're not shocked by it?
I believe that.
Yeah, there's a machine desensitizing us somehow through Hollywood. Yeah, for sure.
When they do come, it's going to be like, oh, look, they're here. Now, think about this. 1996 was Independence Day. That's when Independence Day, the first film, came out, was 1996. This happened in 1997. That's all I'm going to say.
It may have been a prop move. It may have needed to get it out of California.
Guys, come on.
Yeah.
This ship's taking up way too much room. We're not even talking about Independence Day 2. Nobody wants to see it. They love the first one so much. Let's not ruin it. Let's wait 20 years to ruin it.
All right, so Andrew, I'm gonna just let you actually weigh in now. Are you saying this is not a mostly true alien story, or it is?
I think it's government, is what I think it is. I think it's a governmental ship that something went wrong. It was a cloaking device, and the device malfunctioned, and they were like, "Holy shit! All these people just saw it." I don't think it was an alien, so I'm going to say no. It's not mostly true alien story. It is a true story. Not mostly true story. It is a true story, but it's not a mostly true alien story. I think that it's governmental cover up as usual.
Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Don. Don, after hearing Andrew's verdict, let's hear what you have to think. Is this a mostly true alien story or not?
I think Andrew makes a lot of great points on that, especially.
Don't feed his ego.
But when it comes to government, you know, if they say to me that, you know, that the answer is up, then I'm going to go down. You know what I'm saying? Like, the government, I feel, is always misleading us. They're like magicians. It's sleight of hand. I just lost a lot of faith in our government. and long before these last few years, but for a long time. So to me, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a government cover up, where they're covering up our technology, like the cloaking device, like Andrew said, or if they're covering up a literal alien spacecraft, UFO flying through. The fact that there's thousands, literally thousands of eyewitnesses, and there's photographs and there's videos, and the governor saw it, and even the Kurt Russell came out and said he was there and he saw it. He's a witness to this as well. And
Kurt
it's never
Russell,
been
Snake Plissken. Snake Plissken was there.
He was there, man. What is he? Stuntman Mike, man. He was there.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think that we definitely, I believe it's mostly true on the alien side. I think that was the closest we've ever gotten to that many eyewitnesses to see an unidentified object. I think the second place would be the recent one where they fit the military film, the Tic Tac. I think those are the most two credible ones that I know of. So yeah, I think, and watching some of the documentaries leading up to coming here today with you guys, it just seems like yes, and it's a government cover up because to our earlier statement about there's a government no more than they lead on to. I definitely think so. And I think that ties into this big time. I believe it's mostly true alien story, but to support Andrew as well, I do think either way the government's covering something up, whether it's themselves and a cloaking device or actual space alien contact.
All right. So Andrew says it is not a mostly true alien story, but it is a government cover-up. Don, you say it is a mostly true alien story.
And a government cover-up. He's a twofer, baby. He's the twofer.
He is. That's right. All right. So now it's my turn to weigh in. I look at this as definitely a cover-up. I think that I'm going to lean towards this being alien technology built by the government and hidden by the government, because there was certainly discrepancies in how they handled it after the fact, and then saying it was them with flares when they denied everything prior. So there's no reason that I don't think that they were, if it were alien related, I believe that we would see fighter jets flying, chasing this thing. We'd see a big presence of Air Force or Army or National Guard in some way. There were no reports of that.
Yeah.
So my feeling is that this is alien technology that they were testing out, that they know about. So this is both. It's the alien, the influence, but government owned. And I think that this is not a mostly true alien story, but it is a true happening that the government caused and we're trying to hide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stephen Greer would be so proud of you right now.
Really, but he has pictures of it.
Right. Well, he's got a picture of Flippy and Dippy, the alien friends that he had by the campfire. But no, I mean, but he's been saying that the government has been working with aliens on technology for years, for over 30 years. That's what he's been saying. But yet he's been able to prove nothing, but his life is in danger.
It's just funny to me that the government would go, hey, let's build a 2-mile large ship.
Well, that was a guesstimate of how big it was. I mean, it was at least a mile long. At least a mile.
Still big.
And how come no one's ever seen it since?
Because it's cloaked. Come on, Don. It's just floating up in the sky, cloaked. I mean, seriously, what? Neal, come on. Get this guy off the show. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Don. Get with it, Don. The aliens stepped in. They said after they flew that ship, they said to the government, listen, we told you, you got to make it look like stars underneath. And you got to have cricket sounds. Gotta have cricket in
when they lost the crickets,
as soon as the crickets were gone. But yeah, I mean, that was I forgot to bring that up. Thanks for saying that. But yeah, I looked to see if there was any military activity in the area.
Yeah,
none.
Zero. Yeah.
And there's really nothing about that it was on radar. They kind of silenced that too. It's like, well, what was it?
Yeah. So this was a government cover-up of alien technology, not produced by the aliens. The government made it, and they were testing it out. That's the Phoenix Lights. Thousands of people, a massive V-shaped craft, total silence, and still no real answers. Andrew, Don, appreciate both of you weighing in on this one. Don, you've interviewed me about aliens, but now you're in the chair. What did you really think about the Phoenix Lights?
My takeaway is that nothing is too big for a cover up, whether it's the moon landing or the Phoenix Lights.
Man, he just loves going to the moon landing. It was the moon landing.
I just I do that just for Neal. It cracks me up.
Boy, I can't wait till the day that it comes out that you're going to change your mind about that moon landing.
But I do think that it just shows you that that's my biggest takeaway is that anything can be covered up, even if there's thousands of witnesses. They could just use their Jedi powers and almost similar metaphorically to the Men in Black light when they put the flashlight. It's similar to that where they just say there's nothing to see here, and we all okay, all right. I guess we were wrong. It was swamp gas or it was military flares.
Now look into my pen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So,
well,
man,
a huge thanks to you, Don, for hanging with us. If you listeners haven't checked out Donversations with Don Sill, now's your time on YouTube. He gets everything from comedy to conspiracies and somehow keeps it all grounded. And I appreciate you being here, bud.
Thank you so much. Everybody, check out the episode I did with Neal. It was awesome. One of my favorite ones, and we touched a lot of things. It was a pretty awesome indeed.
For everyone listening, what do you think? Was the Phoenix Lights incident a genuine mass sighting of something otherworldly or something a lot closer to home? Don says it was alien. Andrew says it was government. I said it was government with alien technology. Anyway, you guys let us know in the comments. Yep. Hit follow, subscribe, share the show, and help us keep building this community. We'll be back next week with another case that challenges the line between what's real and what's mostly true. Until then, thanks for listening and be kind to the aliens when they get here. That's it. Thanks, fellas.
Take care,
Thanks.
everybody.
UFO sightings. Many Americans have wondered about